Yeah, welcome everyone. It's Adam and Rebecca here. Morning, Rebecca.
Morning, Adam.
I think we've got a slight delay on the line, but we'll get through the technological challenges. We're here to talk about LinkedIn, and just for some context for people watching, Rebecca and I, well, Rebecca very kindly approached me really to do a joint session, really in light of the recent uplift in redundancies and job seekers out there that might be looking. And we both agreed it would be a good idea to share some best practice for LinkedIn, but really focusing in on how you can use it as a tool for personal branding if you're in the market to improve your career or indeed get a new job. Am I about right with that, do you think, Rebecca?
Yeah, that's really nicely summed up.
Good. Okay, great. So that's you and I. I'll make sure that in any comments I post both of our links so people can come find us and connect with us. That's what the whole process is all about. And I'm sure people will get to know us a little bit over the next few weeks as we do more of these. So have you got any sort of stats or context yourself, Rebecca, that you'd like to add here?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 660 million users on LinkedIn, and so that's a fair chunk of the population. So it's really important that we stand out as individuals on LinkedIn, and the way that we can do that is essentially selling ourselves, marketing ourselves better on LinkedIn. Although people don't actually want to be sold to, but they do want to buy, and there's a slight difference to that. And so making someone want to buy you rather than you having to sell yourself is essentially what we're trying to help you with here. 82% of business decision makers said that thought leadership increased trust in an organization. And if we flip that into the recruitment and career side of things, essentially that decision maker could be your new hiring manager. And so what we're trying to do here is essentially set you up as thought leaders and improving your personal brand on LinkedIn to help your career prospects.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll flick on to the next slide, which I like. I'm a big Spice Girls fan, of course. I'm sure we all are. Yeah, so tell us about this, Rebecca.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Spice Girls do sum it up really nicely here. Tell us what you want. It's really clear to set your intentions when you're looking for a new role. You might not know straight away exactly what it is that you're actually after, but the more clear you can be and the clearer short, mid and long-term goals you can set, the better, because having that clear picture of an ideal job in your mind will help you set up your LinkedIn profile to actually better match the role that you're heading for. So how do you get clear about that job that you want? You might be in the situation where the answer at the moment is kind of, I just want anything at the moment. We all need to pay the bills, but actually having that end goal in mind is going to show your potential hiring manager that you're dedicated and determined. I will actually be ending this session with a little piece around how to set your LinkedIn profile up to actually attract the right hiring managers.
Yeah, perfect. And I think that short, medium and long-term piece is really important, because if people have been made redundant or desperately need to find new work, a short-term objective is let's find some work that's going to pay me some money so I can pay the bills. Medium term, where do I want to go next, with my long-term goal in mind? Maybe you want to be a managing director of a fast-growing SME and currently you're an account executive. It strikes me that there's probably a few steps between where you are now and where you want to go, but setting out the aspiration will determine the path that you tread. So I think that's fantastic advice. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, am I right to move on, or is there more to add there, Rebecca?
We can cover the rest of kind of how to set those intentions when we come to the homework piece at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So really, I'm just talking here about how to stand out from the crowd, and my position, as people may or may not know, is I've run my own recruitment business for the last 14 years. As a result, I've seen an awful lot of profiles sent to me, and it is the ones that stand out, of course, that get the opportunity to speak and influence me to forward them on to the client. So just running through a few pieces there, I think the first thing that I would say is How do you get a recruiter, or whether an agency or an internal recruiter, to notice you? Well, the first thing is to consider we're all pretty busy. I mean, look, you're busy, Rebecca. I'm really busy. Hiring managers are really busy. So you've got to make it easy for them. And the easiest way to do it is to allow them to do it quickly, so they can process the introduction you're making quickly, identify you as a standout candidate, and move on quite quickly to the other jobs that they've got on their task load that day. So you really need to make your CV very easy to read. It needs to be, in my opinion, 2 or 3 pages maximum. Although I know that I've mentioned to you before the idea, Rebecca, of it can never be too long. It can only be too boring.
Yeah.
So if it is going to be 4 or 5 pages, make sure it's interesting and relevant. One way of making sure your CV gets found is to ensure that it's got all the relevant keywords on it. Most job seekers these days will put their CV, whether they know it or not, through a system. It'll be some kind of automated technology system quite often. And that automated technology is looking for keywords relevant to what the hiring manager has asked for. So you must make sure, if you work in the retail motor industry and you want to get a job as a sales manager, you must make your CV stand out littered with the relevant keywords. And we can talk about that in more detail as these sessions progress. And get your LinkedIn profile mentioned on your CV so people can go and find you on LinkedIn from it. That'll be the next natural place they go to look. And ensure that your contact details are very obvious and your location is very obvious. Most people are looking to fill jobs with people in certain locations. I mean, I actually got a CV through the other day from a quite senior person who didn't tell me on their CV where they lived in the country. So immediately I, as a busy person, had to go digging around trying to find out for myself.
So Adam, would you recommend putting your full address on the CV, or maybe just a town or the nearest kind of city?
Yeah, I mean, you can put your full address on. That's not a bad idea. But at the very least, put your location, put your town on. Mm-hmm. You know, people think, right, I'm recruiting in Chester. I need people to be able to get here within, 40 minutes, let's say, and that's even generous. So if someone applies with postcode Northwich, they'll see, okay, well, that's commutable. If they apply with Solihull, they'll start asking the question, well, how are you going to get here every day? So you've got to leave the right clues, and make sure your LinkedIn profile has that on it as well. Make sure you are talking about your achievements rather than just your responsibilities. I want to see what you've done and not just what you're in charge of. You could be in charge of a 90-person sales team who are performing terribly. I'm not that interested in what you're currently doing. It's what targets you've achieved, how far over target, what awards you might have won, what projects you were given to manage, and what the outcome was. So achievements. And just make it look more interesting. So use all the formatting tools. Don't go too crazy. We don't want wacky and weird, but bullet points break things up nicely. Use of bold text selectively, underline or italic where relevant. And if you're thinking you're doing too much, ask for advice. I'm sure I can help with that. Yeah, I'm looking at my notes. So maybe have a couple of CVs. One very plain formatted, which is easy for a recruiter or hiring manager to log somewhere. Maybe a more creative one with infographics, colors, pictures, logos, and use the right one at the right time. Now, I talk here about personality and relationship. I know you and I would both agree, from a personal branding point of view, we'd encourage people to showcase who they are, the kind of person they are, family, hobbies, interests outside of work. These are colleagues that we're inviting into organizations, and we want our organizations to be vibrant and enriched with the people that we invite in. Yeah, so then moving on to commitment. Really, my point here is about commitment. Quite simply, when you're asked to do something, do it on time. And if you say you're going to do something, like I will send you my more creative CV as soon as I put the phone down, send your most creative CV as soon as you put the phone down. If someone says I'll ring you at 9, be by your phone 5 minutes in advance. It's all the simple stuff, but as my Cub Scout teacher taught me, simple things done well look good. So make sure that you're committed to the process.
Yeah, great advice.
Yeah, always the simplest advice is best. And then last two pieces are, follow up everything. The real route to success is persistence. And, successful people, in my experience, never worry about becoming a nuisance. Successful people drive through their agenda in line with the other person's agenda, but they drive it through without concern for becoming a nuisance. So if you've gone to the trouble of sending a CV, my advice would be, don't stop following up until you've had an answer. That answer could be no, and I would encourage people to chase no's, because every no gets you closer to the yes. And it's a bit of a cliche, but it's very true. And that way, if you do get a no, at least you've got a chance to turn it into a maybe or a yes.
And also, I guess the feedback is also invaluable to then turn more no's into yeses.
Exactly right. You learn from the feedback. You're quite right, Rebecca. Always ask for feedback. And then the last point here, really, in terms of how you can stand out and get yourself seen is, and I put a question mark next to it because it won't be everyone's cup of tea, but video is such a powerful tool on LinkedIn itself or via YouTube. There's so many different options. I would encourage people to get comfortable recording a short video. You don't have to release to the world the first one that you do. It can be a good practice. But if you can send to a hiring manager a short video of yourself, 30 seconds, 90 seconds max, outlining the job you've seen, your relevant experience, and how much you'd be keen to join the organization because of what you've seen about them, you'll dramatically improve your chances of standing out from the crowd. Again, we can talk about all these things in much more detail as we go along, but I'll keep it moving. Have you got anything to add there, Rebecca, before I move on?
Only to say that I think everyone's a little bit scared about getting on video, but actually the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And so yeah, even if it takes sort of 50 practices, you're going to get more comfortable as you practice.
Yeah, and it's a skill that you might need some coaching or support with, but you're right, the real experience comes from the practice. So just pick up your iPhone, put it on a stand somewhere, if that's a few books propped up in your office, and just try recording a short video and see what you think of it. Yeah, good. Practice is the key. Cool. So let's move on to encouraging people to be themselves, Rebecca.
Yeah, so attention span has decreased from 12 to just 4 seconds. And so I'm hoping that people are still listening to us. We're a fair few minutes in. So what we really need to do is make your LinkedIn profile stand out from those 660 million LinkedIn users. So we're going to essentially walk you through how you can create your profile to talk directly to your ideal hiring manager, whether that's a CFO, a sales manager, an HR director, who knows. But the key thing in everything that you're doing on LinkedIn and through your CV and when you talk to hiring managers is getting your personality across, because we're one person and we should be bringing our whole selves to work every day.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the world of employment is cottoning onto that now, but I believe your life is your life and work is a part of it, and you shouldn't have to be someone else just because you're at work. So the more authentic you are, the better chance you've got of getting the right match.
Yeah, great advice.
Yeah. So are we moving on to the next slide, Rebecca?
Yeah, let's rattle through the 6 or so tips on what you can concentrate. And these are really easy tweaks that you can make to your LinkedIn profile today to make a real difference. And so I've put Adam and myself up here to showcase that having a really good professional headshot is absolutely key. So profile pictures with headshots get way more clicks and engagement than those without. It shows you're a real person rather than a spam account. And then having that banner image, so I've got a bit of Lego up there. I'm a huge Lego fan. And then Adam, you've got your professional banner there as well. Again, it gives just a bit more personality on who you are, and a bit more of a rounded person.
Yeah.
And then the headline is super important. So the My Marketer by Day, Adam Thinking Differently, that headline follows you absolutely everywhere on LinkedIn when you're commenting on other people's posts or sending connection requests. And so making those really targeted to the jobs that you're focusing on and targeting, it is really important.
Yeah, hugely important. And I think as well, you know, in terms of photograph, my only comment would be it needs to be for LinkedIn, yes, authentic, but but I see some weird and wonderful things. People holding, you know, people with eagles on their shoulder. Now that's fine if they run in a bird sanctuary,
yeah,
but not if you're looking. I don't know, really. It's down to your own personal preference. I'd keep it nice and simple, head and shoulders, or a nicely taken shot. One tip is the little portrait setting that most people have on their phones now allows you to take a very nice professional looking photograph using your own mobile device. You don't need to get the camera professionals in. Great if you can, but using technology and just a nice simple professional head and shoulders shot, ideally with some semblance of a smile on your face.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking professional but approachable is really key, and actually not having anybody else in the photo too.
Yes, exactly. So I'll move on to the next slide about being visible. So here we're really talking about, you know, be open, let people in. So make sure you add your email and contact details to your LinkedIn account. You know, you need to set your LinkedIn profile to open. There's various ways that you can do that within your own settings. And I think you've given a great example down here of how your own LinkedIn profile is visible to the public. So anyone can hop on and find out more about Rebecca Morgan. And you've got your, you know, various buttons here all set so that people can see and share and engage with your profile. I think some people might have questions over it, you know, in terms of, well, what about cyber security, or what if people are trying to harvest my information? I think, you know, LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft these days. They're going to have a keen handle on that. And of course, you need to be careful about what you share, how you share it, and getting your passwords set up safely and securely. But if you want to be found and contacted, you need to get your LinkedIn profile set up in the right way so that people can find you, see what you've been talking about, and contact you as quickly as possible. So yeah, make sure you've got the right keywords through it. That will make sure that people can find you more easily on Google. You know, of course, LinkedIn, you know, it's a big website, but it's just a website like any other. So if you get the right keywords and contacts in there, people will be able to find you. And importantly, you can set up your own LinkedIn URL. So I think mine is LinkedIn .co.uk or whichever it is /Adam Butler Ltd, which means when I'm sharing it on my professional documents, it just looks a little bit neater and tidier and is easier to remember. So that can be again achieved through going through your settings. You know, people can ask us for more info if they want it on that. Is that anything to add that I've missed off there, Rebecca?
Yeah, you actually raised a really great point around people's hesitancy about adding email addresses and contact details, and actually only your first level connections will actually be able to see that contact information. And if you are still a little bit concerned, you can have a setting that says don't show my contact information. So you do have some level of control over that.
Yeah, of course. Great. Okay, so moving on to our third point, I'll hand back to you, Rebecca.
Yeah, so this is the About Me section, and the part that most people find quite tough writing, because as Brits, we're quite reserved. We don't really like to shout about what we're great about. And so actually there's a really nice, easy 4-step plan here to how to write your About Me section. And they cover passion. So what are you really passionate about? What makes you get out of bed in the morning? For me, it's things like the Beluga XL, Lego, anything nerdy like that. And actually then what's your background? How has that influenced the job roles potentially that you've had so far? And then go into, say, the company. And so if you don't have a role at the moment and are looking for a new opportunity, you can put there about the types of companies that you're looking to work for, whether that be actually naming the company itself, kind of really calling it out and being quite clear, or the type of sector that you want to work in. Yeah. And then finally, in all good marketing, we always put that call to action at the end. So tell people what you want them to do. Do you want them to connect with you, drop you a direct message, give you a call even? But the really important thing about the About Me section is really being authentic and using your own voice. So if you are quite a formal person, feel free to use formal language. If you're a bit more informal, again, be informal in your language too.
Yeah, and it'll be relevant to the kind of career step you want to take next, won't it, Rebecca? If you are a current, board level exec looking to step up to what you hope will be maybe your final role, well, there'll be a certain demeanor that you would carry with you professionally, and that reflects in the copy. If you're a creative designer wanting to move into a funky inner city marketing agency, yeah, that needs to be reflected. It's about this authenticity, isn't it? And being confident in who you are and happy to put that out there. Yeah,
and letting your personality shine through.
Yes, exactly right. Cool. So moving on to the next point. Really, this is about talking through your past experiences in education, just really to help you build those relationship with prospective employers. I think if we all like commonality, don't we? So heard a great story once about, if you're from Birkenhead and someone else is from Liverpool, there can be a rivalry, the Birkenhead lot, there's the Liverpool lot. Now, if you find yourself on a bus in the middle of Canada somewhere and you hear a Birkenhead accent versus your Liverpool accent, suddenly there's commonality. You're from the same rough part of the world. So people like commonality. And you can look for that and find that across LinkedIn by reviewing other people's groups or the companies or the universities they might have gone for, checking out for those gaps or areas of crossover and using them as tools to engage with people. And those are the sparks of building those initial relationships and really showcasing your work experience really with as succinct as possible descriptions of the roles that you've got without leaving too many gaps. Fill in those gaps. Being concise is one thing, but missing stuff out would be almost unforgivable. You've got here on your this example we've got here around engaging with industry stakeholders and institutions to drive the STEM agenda. Well, other people who are also interested in the science, technology, engineering and maths agenda would certainly find that interesting and a point to start the conversation on, maybe. So it's filling in those gaps. There's an interesting fact here. It says attending the same university as someone lifts the acceptance rate by 41% and 53% if they attended at the same time. So make sure you're filling as complete a profile as you can with all of your experience, education and groups history, and join groups that your potential future employers are also part of, whether that's industry bodies or points of common interest. Anything to add there, Rebecca?
I think it's all just around building relationships, isn't it? So the more you have in common with the people that are looking for you, the more likely they are to reach out, and it gives almost like a warm introduction. They feel like they already know you.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Cool. And then moving on to recommendations. LinkedIn's got this phenomenal tool that allows people to get other people recommending them. And I don't think it was my Cub Scout teacher or tutor or Arcala that taught me this one, but people believe what other people say you a lot more than what you say about yourself, if that makes sense, if I've got that straight. And LinkedIn will allow you to ask people to recommend you. I mean, this is part of my profile here, which you very kindly added to the slide, Rebecca. And in some instances, people have been very kind and just gone on and added me a recommendation. And I'm always very proud to showcase them on my profile. But in other instances, I've gone and very proactively asked people that I've worked with or helped out, would you be kind enough to put some words down for me? Often it's the case that you might go to them and say, I don't think with any of these particular examples this happened, but there will certainly be some on my LinkedIn profile. I've said, I know you're busy. I was wondering if, and I've written this short paragraph, I was wondering if that reflects what you might say about me. Please feel free to change it to your own words, or if you just copy and paste that onto my profile. You know, it's about being confident yet humble. I don't want to be saying too many crazy things about myself or come across arrogant. I would hate that, actually, but it's about doing the hard work to make the selling easy effectively. So you can ghostwrite them, you can give direction, and one really surefire way of making someone want to give you a recommendation is if you go on and give them a recommendation first. So you can see on my little piece here, I've received 39, and it's no real coincidence that I've given about the same number. You know, there's a philosophy within one of the networks I've been involved in that says givers gain. So you know, it's about reciprocity. These are all big words for me at this time of the day. But yes, if you give first, pay it forward, you're much more likely to get it back. And if you can litter your LinkedIn profile with all the nice things your previous employers, work colleagues, and anyone else that you can find to say good things about you, it will just make you stand out as the go-to candidate to get that conversation started. Yeah, great. Anything else that I've missed there, Rebecca?
No, you've covered it beautifully.
Good, thank you very much. I'll send you a recommendation. Cool. So on to now adding multimedia to people's profile. I think this is your specialist subject, or one of them, Rebecca.
Yeah, so multimedia can really show people who you are. So we mentioned video earlier on, and adding recording some videos to send out to hiring managers, but actually what you can then do is take that a step further and add them to your LinkedIn profile. And there are a couple of ways to do that, and when we talk about multimedia, it could be a link to, say, a blog that you've written, or even an article that inspires you, or a YouTube video. It could be absolutely anything. As I say, it really showcases who you are as an individual and what you've done at previous companies as well. So you can add multimedia at both a personal and a role level. And so again, add the stuff that inspires you. You'll see on the screen here a couple of examples. So the top example is in multimedia that this person has actually written or contributed to themselves, and they've added that at their role level. And then below are featured articles that actually I've written and added again to my own personal section, the featured section of my LinkedIn profile. So litter your LinkedIn profile with different pieces of media that really showcase what you've achieved to support your CV, and then what motivates you too.
Yeah, perfect. And that's about going and finding relevant stuff to showcase yourself, but relevant stuff that your potential audience might be interested in looking at when they check out your profile. The longer, getting them to land there is one thing, getting them to stay there is another, and LinkedIn gives you all the tools to engage the person that lands on your profile, first with your photograph and headline, and then beyond that, as they scroll down, the engaging media to get them absorbed. Really, that's the key, I think.
That's right. And in marketing, we have this term called keep someone sticky. So actually keeping them stuck on a page for as long as possible, and that's what we want to do with your profiles.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so I think our final point just for now, we're coming towards the end, but Yeah, this is about sending connection requests to people, and I've got a few thoughts on it that I'll run through. Look, LinkedIn is just a networking tool like any live networking tool at the end of the day. The key to networking is to remember it's not about the people in the room always, or the people in your LinkedIn contact book. It's often about the people that they know. So they can get you one step closer to influencing the person that you want. And actually, if you connect with someone who can make an introduction to the person that you want to speak to, the hiring manager you want to get in touch with, they're much more likely to be receptive to a referral than your direct approach. So the wider your network, the better. I sometimes call this, well, it's not really my thing, but one that I found and I love, the 6 degrees of separation, or the Kevin Bacon factor, as it's sometimes known. The idea there is that Kevin Bacon, the actor, everyone in Hollywood is connected within 6 degrees of one another, and by going through, well, I know this person who knows that person who knows Kevin Bacon, we build our network out. And actually, I think 6 degrees of separation is a global idea that I know you, Rebecca, you'll know someone in GB Group who might be connected to someone in Financial Conduct Authority, who might be connected to someone in government who will inevitably know the Prime Minister.
Yeah,
we're only ever 6 degrees away. And for me, don't be afraid to send out, well, actually, I would encourage you to send out connection requests as you build your profile to all your ex-colleagues, to friends, suppliers, line managers, recruiters. And for me, it is a personal thing. If your LinkedIn profile is set up correctly with a headline, a good picture, a banner, and great content, you don't necessarily need to add a personal note to your connection request. In fact, I've got lots of evidence to support the fact that with a well-formed profile, my take up on my connection request is much higher without an introductory note. The introductory note, no matter how you try to craft it, can sometimes come across as quite salesy or needy. When in fact, if I just turn up looking relevant and interesting and I send you a connection request, you have a quick look at my headline and say, yep, I would benefit from having him in my network. But the key is to get busy. Find all your old connections, connect with them, and then start engaging with them and asking for recommendations, building your profile out. Have I missed anything, Rebecca?
No, that's covered really nicely.
Good, thank you very much. So, yes, I think you are going to set some homework now, teacher, is that right?
I am, absolutely. So there are 2 pieces of homework, but they're linked here. And the first one is essentially getting clear on your intention. So we mentioned that earlier on in the session. Actually having a clear idea of what job you want to do and where and who you want to do that for. And so the way that we can do that is kind of find out what motivates you, have a think about the type of industry or sectors that you want to work in, and then narrow that down to the types of companies in those sectors that really float your boat. Do you want to work for a really big organization, or do you want to work for a startup? And then again, drill down even further, get between sort of 20 and 30 companies that actually match that type of company and write their names down, and then start doing a bit of what I term professional stalking. So have a look on LinkedIn, scroll through, start following members of those companies on LinkedIn. So if you don't want to kind of click that connection request button just yet, you can actually follow people, and it's kind of a little less committed, I guess. And then what you could do, so follow the HR team, the senior managers, the CEO, find out what's going on in that company, follow any potential hiring managers as well, and then make sure that, and then that will then help their content start to pop up in your newsfeed, which means that when you listen to our next session, where we'll show you how to start engaging on LinkedIn, you'll already know the types of people and posts that you need to start commenting on. So those posts are really going to give you insights into the company culture and give you an insider advantage if and when a role does pop up at that company.
Yeah.
And so that's the first part, so getting clear on your intentions, and then crafting your profile to make sure that your profile matches that dream job. So going through those six or seven steps to actually make sure your profile is going to stand out to those people that you've started following.
Yeah, perfect. And do you know what? It's such good advice and such a valuable use of someone's time if they're looking to progress their career into a new job, or they're currently out there actively searching for whatever reason. You know, in the olden days, a long time ago when I was a lad, around the time of Moses, we used to have to ring up companies and ask them to send out their brochure. And we did it with the aim of knowing about the company when asked the question at interview. These days, I mean, actually, wouldn't be a bad thing to ring up and ask for the brochure, but all the information's there. And when a prospective employer gets you in for interview and says, what do you know about us? It's unforgivable now not to know absolutely everything, because it's all there for you. And following those build your dream list of companies, and following those companies and listening and engaging with what they're up to and the kind of organization they are will put you so far ahead of the crowd and give you the best chance of progressing through the interview process. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And then by following those people that you might interact with at the interview stage, your name is already subliminally put into their conscious, because you've already started looking at them on LinkedIn. So they may recognize your face if kind of a week before the interview you have a look at their profile, a day before the interview, an hour before the interview, keep popping up in their subconscious, and that's going to help you too.
Yeah, hugely powerful, hugely powerful. Great stuff. Cool. So, okay, that wraps us up, I think.
Yes.
Really. We're back soon, probably in the next 7 days or so, 7 to 10 days. Our next session is all around taking action. I know we're going to give some sort of tips around to start putting your feelers out there, how to engage impactfully. In terms of signing up and keeping abreast of when we'll be back and what we're sharing next, I think the best thing to do is either connect with either me or Rebecca. I'll put our details in the notes alongside this, or you'll see us sharing it on LinkedIn. Like our company pages, that would be a good start for people. And you know, look, people can write as a recommendation if they want, can't they, Rebecca? But I think something else that would be
absolutely
really helpful would be if they found this useful, share it with others, and we'll be back soon with some more great tips. What have you got to say in signing off, Rebecca? Final words from you.
Really, just to say good luck with building out personal profiles. It is so important to bring your own personality into your LinkedIn profile to make yourself stand out from the crowd. And hey, I've been through redundancy myself. I know that it really sucks, but actually when redundancies are so common at the moment and you're having to stand out even more, then we just hope that these top tips really help you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Well, we're going to sign off now. We'll be back in a short space of time with some more information. It's been great having the chance to present to you all today, and we'll see you soon. So bye for now.